Teachers Union. Unfortunately, we have had a spike since then in the COVID situation. So, of necessity, we will be meeting again with the Teachers Union. But this week, we have already met with the Education Advisory Board. Today, later this morning, I'm meeting with the principals of the primary and secondary schools, as well as the head of the TVET institutions. So we are having our discussions. Of course, yesterday we had a guidance, really, the CMO and other officials from the Ministry of Health. So we are going on extensive consultation, and I'm sure at the end of it, we would be in a position to arrive at a decision that hopefully the vast majority of persons will be comfortable with.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, with regards to the COVID situation and schooling, earlier in the year, when we were contemplating the reopening of school for the third term, we had, through advice of the Ministry of Health, we had issued some recommendations, which, again, we are maintaining these for the face-to-face instruction of our students. And those guidelines generally speak to the issue of vaccination and observing all the other protocols. So the position is and remains. The position, was and remains the same. That is to say, teachers will be expected to have the vaccine. In absence of not having the vaccine, teachers will be required to do tests, PCR tests, every 2 weeks. And of course, in order to be on the school compound, that the result of those tests must be negative.
In order to be on the compound.
Yes.
Wow.
Because the whole issue is, if we look at what is happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the spike, what is happening in and around us, Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Barbados, we can't wait. We have to be proactive. So our position is, if we are going to provide a safe and healthy environment, among the things we are stressing on is that all the protocols as outlined by the Ministry of Health must be followed by users of the compound. And we are saying teachers must get vaccinated. You don't have a vaccine, then you must be tested on a regular basis. We will foot the bill for the forced to vaccine. The forced to test. Thereafter, the teachers will have to pay that bill. Additionally, we now have the the Pfizer vaccine. Yeah. And we were advised, we are told, the science says that students 12 years and above can take this vaccine. So we are encouraging parents also to get their children vaccinated, because we are hearing about deaths and serious injuries to students who are under the age of 18 years.
And that's quite unfortunate, what has been happening to some students across the world.
Exactly.
Now, thank you so much for that recap. And I'm pretty sure that listeners, students, parents, and teachers alike would appreciate that information. I know we don't have a lot of time with you, so I'm just going to get to the next issue here.
I just wanted to ask in
Go
terms of the regularity. It's twice a month.
Yes,
and the
basically every 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. And the result is handed to the headmaster or the Minister of
Education?
Principal,
really.
Oh,
the principal.
Okay. Or the principal, okay.
Or headmistress.
Or headmistress.
Yeah, our headmistress or headmaster in the case of the girls' high school. And
Right.
But we have a high school student over there.
Yeah, I realize that. She's very defensive of that,
Yeah, I gotta be in. Not only because my school, but there are tons of other schools that have headmistresses.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on, guys. All right, so I've been hearing some stories of students. You have a call. Let's not lose the call. All right, before we change the topic. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my sister. Let me just, and my brother. Let me just
Mr. Hamilton,
No, hold on. let me hear what he has to
let me
say
just say a
first.
little hello there to my brother. Now, my brother, I'm calling into custody. I'm calling in to tell you I've done 8 years of vaccine research. I'm not better than anybody else, but it's just the research that I've seen right now in Anguilla and other countries. Because my sister said, don't tell Anguilla only. All other countries.
Make it
That what is
concise, Mr.
happening is that
Hamilton.
the vaccines, listen to me carefully, which was supposed to work, are being penetrated.
Okay.
So in Anguilla, those mother and father, those teachers
right.
are getting. So obviously, you're going to still
All right,
spread the
Mr.
virus,
Hamilton,
even if you use the vaccine. So what do? You encourage the citizens to wear masks. It's not 90% cut is king. Of the bad
Okay.
drivers are not wearing the
Mr.
mask.
Hamilton,
Yes,
thank you so much
Hamilton,
for
this
your
is, we're doing
contribution,
education
all
today,
right?
Mr. Hamilton.
I
But
think we
just
get
to
the gist
say
of
though,
what-
just to say though, let me re-emphasize. I did say all the protocols because I was trying to be brief because we dealt with this yesterday. Hammer might have missed it, but yes, all the protocols: the wearing of masks, the washing of hands, the sanitization of the schools. I mean, we are saying all the protocols, but we know the vaccines are not 100% foolproof. I had vaccines for measles, for mumps, for rubella. I still got measles.
Okay.
So
All right. So a number of students have been displaced because of the volcanic eruption, right?
Yes.
And some of these students are still in the green zones, are still not at home. Some of them are not able to return to, for example, places in OTR. I understand, and you can confirm, that the schools in the northern part of the country are in a sort of a state where they're not able to be opened on October 4th. Is that correct?
not really. What we have done is to embark on a massive school repair program, and that is presently taking place. Of course, because of the volume of work to be done, and parents and other persons are naturally concerned, and that is understandable. But we are given the commitment that we should be up and ready by the 4th for those schools
Okay.
in that area.
So-
Actually, we are actually building a secondary school, a temporary secondary school for the students of the Sandy Bay Secondary School.
Where is that
Okay.
school?
And that is being built at Mount Young.
Okay.
Just below the gas station there and the road going to Black Point Tunnel.
Okay. Oh, okay.
At
Familiar
the
with that
same
area?
time, we are also embarking on the construction of a more permanent school for the Sandy Bay Secondary School in the Orange Hill area. So perhaps persons are a little bit confused with that. But the truth is that we have, if you like, engaged contractors, not Brax alone, but other contractors from the various communities to work on the repairs for these schools. So we believe we will not be able to have it in perfect conditions, but we intend to, through this repair program, to address the major issues in the schools.
All right. So in terms of the displaced students, right? I've been hearing that some students are, some parents and students are finding it difficult to get their children into schools. In other areas, perhaps closer to Kingstown, where they have been living since they've been asked to move from the red zones. Question number one, why is it so difficult for some parents to, or for some principals to accept students who are not able to return to, let's say, Sandy Bay into schools, primary schools specifically? Why is it so difficult for parents to get their children into schools, into other areas? Transfers for displaced students.
Okay. Before answering that, let me say that last night or yesterday, we took a very important decision at Cabinet, where the science and the scientists advise us that, yes, this is time now for us to reduce the hazard level with regards to the volcano from orange to yellow.
Okay.
That decision being taken, we have given the all clear for persons to return to their homes. I mean, those communities at the northern point, I think Fancy Point, and those communities, before they didn't get that all clearance, they now have it.
Okay.
I must indicate that presently, the numbers in these schools have been significantly reduced. I think we have less than 300 now, or should have less than 300
In terms of shelters?
Yes, before.
Okay.
Yes. And now we have, the last check, I think it was 11 schools that are still being used as shelters. So we are hoping that by Monday, if not all, quite a significant number of that 11 or 12 schools that remain as shelters will be freed up.
Okay.
So that most persons are going back home. So that I put this out there because it would reduce the need for the sort of transfer that we are hearing.
Right.
Now,
Realistically,
coming,
okay.
yes. Coming
Go
to
ahead,
the
go
whole issue now. Christelle, there are, of course, students who are in need of transfer based on the fact that some parents, some families, their homes would have been, let us say, significantly damaged or destroyed. And therefore, their parents have moved closer to the urban centers. And hence, there's need for the students to find a place close by. I don't think we have been having a challenge so much with transfer. What has happened, and persons have to understand this, the way how the school system works, we have to ensure first and foremost that we complete the registration process for the new students. Then you move to the issue of transfer.
Okay.
And to the best of my knowledge, you have not had that major challenge with transfer of students. What we have had a challenge with, and I really hope sometime I get to elaborate a lot on this.
No problem, you have time,
Right?
you have
I
If we
think
have-
what you are going
Yes,
on
that-
is what we have here.
A lot
I
of
don't want it to
persons-
go off too far.
No,
okay?
but just have to make the point. A lot of persons are unfairly requesting for their children to be transferred to certain schools
Okay.
in Kingston. I am making that
Top
as
schools.
so-called top schools.
Okay.
I say
All right.
so-called.
No problem.
Yes, because we have top schools in terms of performance.
Right.
But it might not transcend to be the best
Right.
and most valuable experience. Let us say that. So we have differences,
Yeah.
and we have
Okay.
different ways of categorizing top
Top school.
performers.
Yeah, no
right?
problem, no problem.
So
Correct.
the point I'm making, I find that there are quite a number of requests for persons to be transferred into Kingston. There are some cases that merit that transfer, as I mentioned, but there are some cases that don't merit it. And very importantly, the spaces available in Kingston, they are just not there. Now, I could give you an example. I
Go
could
ahead.
give you two examples.
No, give me an example.
Let us take the two, let us start with the Kingston Preparatory School. I mean, the Kingston Preparatory School, they might be able, let us say, to take 100 students. Ideally, the people would ask for about 90, or even less. But there's hardly a year that the prep school would have less than 100 students at the kindergarten level, the grade K. Now, while you have that, you have schools with 5, with 7, with 11 students. It is just not possible. So in any year, you would have over 200, for example, applications for places at the Kingston Preparatory School. Now, obviously, some persons are not going to get in because this space is available, just not enough. And I want to just end that last
so
bit.
that would lend itself to being an issue for a displaced student to not be able to be transferred or accepted into a school.
It could impact, yes, but as I'm saying, to the best of my knowledge, we have been making an effort where there are genuine cases for transfer to have these students transfer. And I'm making the point again. There isn't a great issue about the transfer. What I think the issue is at the grade K level. But I wanted to end by just giving you the top 28 schools in terms of performance at the recently concluded CPE examinations. I want to just read, I'm not calling the name of the schools, but let me give you the numbers in the class that took the exams. 6, 12, 10, 17, 14, 10, 12, 5, 3, 5, 22, 16, 97, 17, 17, 15, 138. Now, that is up to 17 schools.
Those numbers are what again?
The number of students in the class.
In the class.
Yes, in the class.
In the class.
Yes.
Not for the entire. So in a particular classroom, those are the numbers that you're
Yes,
calling.
but this is
Doesn't
an
it highlight?
indication.
Doesn't it highlight something else that really, in fact, too many of your schools, especially in the urban areas, are overcrowded?
But that is the point I'm
You
making.
produce. So why isn't there a stipulation across the entire country to say classrooms cannot exceed X number of students?
But you see, we will get to that. We will get to that condition because we cannot continue to have these sorts of numbers. Now, the 138 that I mentioned is from the Kingston Prep School. Now, the other schools, 33, 26, 54, 18, 15, 13, 13, 25, 23, 34, and 21. Now, look at those numbers. Can we continue to have, let us say we are in the Belay, Fountain, Daphne, Gome area. When I taught at the Gome Methodist School back in the 90s, between the Belay Government School and the Gome Methodist School, you had over 1,000 students. Today, the two schools can't add up to 300. Yet still, you have schools, C.W. Prescott, over 103. RC, the St. Mary's Roman Catholic School, 97. Kingston Anglican, 77. Well, I mean, well, sorry. I'm just giving you the class size or the CPA because it's an indication of the size of the schools. So I'm saying we cannot have all of our students in Kingston.
Yeah.
And the schools on the outskirts and in the rural areas are grossly underpopulated.
I just want to ask a question because somebody just put it up on the live in terms of the placement. Some people felt that there were persons from areas like rural area that did very well at the CSEC.
So that is the CPA now.
CPA, right,
Yes.
CPA. And they should be placed, because they come from the rural area, in terms of placement, they weren't actually placed in these urban areas. They have a problem with the placement of it. Was there any problem there?
Again, I want to make this point. We have secondary schools throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the government policy has been to have resources in all of these institutions.
Okay.
I remember the catchwords used to be access, equity, and quality.
Yeah.
Okay? And what we have done over the years, and successive governments, but this government has a targeted policy of ensuring that resources are equitably distributed among the institutions so that it would not be necessary for students to be moving from one area to the other on the argument that we have to go to this area because we don't have the resources in the area that our students was placed.
Minister,
no.
Before you go forward,
Yeah.
Minister, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think that your government has achieved that mission?
In terms of
On a
the
scale of 1 to 10, access, equitable, all schools having the same quality
well, not same,
education.
similar.
Similar
Yeah.
on the same
Yeah.
board where
Yeah.
I, without knowing which schools are top, I can safely say, let me send my child to, let's say, Emmanuel Mespo. Let me send my child, as opposed to
Yes.
sending my child to Girls High School.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay. I would say
Let's be honest.
yes, and I would say over 75%.
All right, so 7.5.
Okay, because that's my opinion. I would say
7.5.
over. I'd say over. You see, these things are opinions, and I don't want to make it sound exact because it is always difficult in the absence of data. When I say in the absence of data, because I could give you data, and I will give you some to show, but it would not be comprehensive. So that's why I'm saying over 75%. But let me give you a classic example. And I'm a practical person because I was an educator, principal, deputy. So I understand. And I worked at the grammar school. People tend to place me only at the St. Vincent Grammar School. But
Yeah.
I work at the JP Memorial Secondary School, what used to be called the Emmanuel Kingston. I also work at the West St. George Secondary School. So I want to give examples. Now, West St. George Secondary School, from the very first year when they took CXC, they placed 11th out of the 22 or so secondary schools that wrote the CXC exams in that year. Since then, the school has maintained a place in the top 10. But once you put a child at that school, most parents are going to tell you, no, we want the child in Kingston. Now, placing the child in Kingston is not a reward for performance. No, and do not compare with the girls' high school and the St. Vincent Grammar School, because rightly or wrongly, we have a culture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I mean in every society, where the top performers are generally placed in certain institutions.
certain schools.
Traditionally, it has been the St. Vincent Grammar School and the girls' high school. We had two private schools coming after. Well, Timmy was there before in the intermediate high, but people went to the Catholic schools, the St. Martin's and the St. Joseph Convent.
Right.
I'm saying there's a history and culture to this thing.
Yeah.
In terms of the government, what we have said, look, the first 500 students will get a position, a placement based on their choice. Okay? Based on their performance. They'll get placement based on their performance. So good. Now,
Isn't that also lending itself to certain schools getting the top students? Isn't that also lending itself to that same culture that you have referred to
Yes.
that still exists today?
yes, but let us look at the general society. Our society is based on competition, reward, punishment. So,
But I feel like the policy is almost spinning top in mud, because you are seeing across the board the level or the quality of education is very similar. However, you have singled out certain schools to place your top 500, your top tier CPEA students.
Yeah.
You have singled out certain schools for those top students to go to. Although across the board, although some students may be coming from Georgetown or OWIA,
Barely.
who might place in the top 500 and then end up in those schools. Those top schools are also, Minister, in Kingstown.
not necessarily, because I just said that there are some schools that perform in the top 10, not in Kingston. I talk about West St. George.
No, you said
Huh?
your 500 students would go
Yes.
to the... Which
Yeah.
schools are those?
Now, again, I am saying choice. Some students, for example, a number of them choose to go to the Mountain View Academy,
Right,
which is
right,
based
right.
in Maracay. A number of them choose to go to the convent in Maracay. So I'm saying it's based on the choice of the students.
Right.
Now,
but
of
outside
course,
of those 500,
right.
you don't really have a choice with those top schools,
Well,
perceived to be top schools.
yes, and the other thing, and let me make this point. In those so-called top schools, as we are seeing, some of them are private assisted schools.
Okay.
In addition,
Martin,
right, to
St.
the top
Joseph Convent.
500, they reserve places for their students,
Yeah.
based on
Catholic.
perhaps a membership in religion, what
Church,
have you.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
right?
okay.
And they are not coming from the top 500.
Okay.
Another thing, and very important, is the availability of space. Now, in the Kingston area, you only have available to the government roughly 500.
Oh.
And that is why we came up with the 500
Okay.
places.
Fair enough.
Okay? Of course, when students choose to go to outside of the area of Kingston, it's better for us in that we could have more and more persons who might not have made the top 500 place in Kingston.
Yeah.
Outside of that 500, we have now the intermediate high school, the what you call it, the Emmanuel High School in Kingston, well, the JP Memorial Secondary School. Now, persons are not always choosing those schools, but they're in Kingston. How are they going to get better? By having the resources and by the students, teachers, and everybody working hard. We have seen that with Timmy. When last you have heard about the negative things that you used to hear about the intermediate high school? And it has been
Good point.
one of the most improved secondary school in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I'm making the point. It doesn't matter which society you're in, whether it's socialist, communist, capitalist, there's always going to be schools, you could call them schools of excellence, where you're going to put your top performers.
All right. Okay.
I just
Fair
wanna-
point.
You're linking a question?
I am linking a question,
Okay.
which is the final thing that I wanted to address this morning, right? Fees to get into these secondary schools.
Secondary school.
We have been seeing fees for grammar school, GHS, Thomas Saunders, and the fees have been varying in terms of the amounts and the sort of things that are being asked of these students to pay for. Polo t-shirts, lab fee. Can you comment on whether these fees are, I don't want to say justifiable, or some of these fees are mandatory as well? Games bag fee, all sort of fees. Could you please comment on those fees?
Okay, and I like to refer to the law. You talk about the legality, so I will deal with the law.
Okay.
But I want to give a fulsome answer, because the issue of fees in schools, especially public schools, government-owned schools, that is an issue that we have been hearing from time to time. And every year, it seems like it is getting louder and louder in terms of the complaints. And I'm not going to refer to other countries because they have the same argument in several other countries. The point is, and I want to make this general point, is that education is not cheap.
No, it's not.
It is not. I remember the Mighty Ray, former Calypsonian,
Mighty Ray.
former educator, former headmaster of the St. Vincent Grammar School. He had a program where he used to talk about the business of education. He even have a publication with the same name. And the point he was trying to illustrate is the high cost of education within the framework where you have competing other departments for
The
resources
Yeah,
which
within
are
the
dwindling,
government,
which
within the government,
which are diminishing.
Right.
Now, in the past, what schools used to do, they used to organize, because this is not an issue that now emerged in terms of costing. And this is despite the fact that in these countries, we spend quite a large amount of our budget allocation on education. Within just the Department of Education this year, 16%. And we have not yet added the other costs for education in other ministries. So it is a significant outlay of funding. The truth is, though, in the past, to meet these challenges, because schools have a lot of services, schools were allowed to organize fundraising activities. Remember in the past, we used to have these school
Barbecues.
fairs, prep
Right.
school fair. A matter of fact, you had a competition
Yeah.
to go to these school fair because they were big, massive, making money. Then we start having restrictions because of course persons not behaving themselves, the sale of alcohol, and so on became restricted and so on.
And now COVID.
So, so you have had a challenge in terms of the schools raising funds. You seek sponsorship and you're getting less and less. So put yourself in the management of these schools. Now you have to provide services. And some of these services, the services are generally aimed at the students. As a head teacher, I remember, as a headmaster, principal, whatever you want to call it, Christian, I remember you would have students, for example, come into school. They might not have lunch. They might not have breakfast. In the past, a lot of times teachers used to have to take the money
And
out
give the
of their
student-
pocket.
yeah.
Some teachers still do that. But as an institution, what do?
Yeah.
You have to try and meet the needs. You hear complaints. Somebody stole my transportation money. Student traveling to Georgetown. What are you going to do? Leave him? You have to provide him with that resource. And then you have the school events. You're playing a cricket match. You need transportation. You have internal competition. You need funding. The point I'm making, the business of education,
Yeah.
to use Ray Tom, it's an expensive exercise.
So
It's
Mr.
expensive.
And
King,
resources are scarce.
So, Mr.
No,
King-
no,
Yeah.
I'm talking now on the fees. The law says, and I'm going to read the law because a lot of times you'd hear people, but they don't really know it. It's in. I'm reading from the Education Act, and I'm reading section 16, and it deals with free tuition at schools. And I want people to listen carefully. It says, I'm quoting here, neither a student nor his or her parents may be charged tuition fees or other costs for attendance at a public school or an assisted private school, except that. Because you see, people
Except
always
that
think,
what? Except
I'm
that
going
what?
to give you.
Except that what? Before you ad lib, except that.
Except that B. Students at a public school or an assisted private school may be charged for books, specialized services, and other items as the minister may specify by notice published in the Gazette. You see, everything, and I keep making the point, it's the same sort of argument you hear now with the issue of vaccination. There is nothing that is absolute in this world.
Okay, so
And I don't know.
so
why-
you have-
so come, hold on.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to be said now that for some reason or the other, the minister is defending the schools and fees. I
right.
provide the legal framework. I provide also context to understand why perhaps some of these fees are being charged. No, I am saying this now.
perhaps why?
Right. I'm saying now that obviously, as a responsible government that has identified education as one of those major pillars
Yeah.
in the removal of poverty in our country, we want to ensure that word again,
Ensure.
access
To education.
that all of our people have access. So we have to monitor what is happening in the schools to ensure that students are not impeded from gaining access. So
Okay.
where we consider fees to be unrealistic or unfair, of course, we will deal with that. And we have in the past, and I'm saying we, in terms of the Ministry of Education. Okay? And I know it is an issue again that will come up.
Okay, so
but
so,
I
so
want
can I
people
could
to
I rebut
understand
that?
that.
Can I
Yes.
rebut that, right?
Yes.
So St. Vincent Grammar School, $300 for registration package. This includes a registration fee of $50.
Yes.
A lab fee, and in brackets, science and IT,
Yes.
$50. Games uniform, $55.
Yes.
Polo shirt, $50. PTA fee, $50. Student information management system, $45. Those fees are mandatory.
Hold
It's a
on.
part of the $300 for registration package.
Yes.
According to the law, all of these fees are justifiable because they are services that are offered to the students, correct?
Supplemental fees.
Exactly. Supplemental fees. Now, I don't want to comment on what you're saying. It's mandatory. Because
But
I
it's
mean,
a
you heard-
registration package. If you want
it's a
to get
record-
into the school, you
yes,
have to
but
pay the
no
registration
child,
fee.
no child is ever denied registration on the basis that they can't pay.
Okay, so Mr.
right?
King-
Because, but I,
But
So you're
would-
saying
would-
that a parent could refuse to pay it. Basically, that's what you're saying indirectly. I as a parent, have
you see-
reserve the right to pay, to not pay it, and you cannot bar me, my child, from going into school.
but you can't
You-
tell
you
the child they
can't,
can't
but-
get your results, correct?
you see, I'm saying we are getting into a whole set of legality
And I feel
that
like
I
we
don't
don't
want
have
to
time.
There's a
comment.
lot of people
and
who are
I don't
waiting
have,
on-
and I
on-
don't have the time, but only to say that I know those fees. They were there when I was there.
Okay.
Perhaps some of them the cost has
Increased.
have increased.
Yeah. But did you enforce it? Did you enforce it?
Of course, I enforced it.
So-
because I recognize that it was needed. But what I know, there were always ways around which are always strategies people employ to get the fees paid.
Okay. So
No child was ever denied.
all right, Minister.
So
I
I just want to know if as a parent, I don't have to pay it. I just
No,
want
but
to know.
I don't want to say that because
No, I know you don't. I
it
just
has
want.
so many implications
He
that I don't want to go
he
in
said
now.
that a
Yeah.
child cannot be denied registration, right?
Yeah.
No, we are pretty much out of time, but we could squeeze in another 60 seconds, right?
Yeah, of course.
If you can, as you are a former principal of St. Vincent Grammar School, you said these fees were there when you were there.
Yeah.
Kindly explain what is the lab fee of $50. What is that for?
Okay. I think what had happened when the tablets, not tablets, the one
Laptop, okay.
per child initiative was embarked upon, we had a major challenge with students, one,
Yeah.
having damaged their devices, couldn't pay at the what you
Repairs,
call it?
repairs,
Yes,
right.
but,
Okay,
but there was
repairs,
somebody
repairs.
was identified, and we had persons with that skill, and we decided that look, why waste time if we can have that kind of support at the school? And in fact, I remember we actually, I don't know if it still happened, but we actually had a technician employed. Okay, we
That the
made
government was not paying for.
Yes, the government was paying. Yeah, at one time. But then when that ceased to happen, we maintained the person. Another important issue, the labs themselves. What we find, students were damaging equipment in the lab.
Yeah.
I mean, you will miss a mouse and all these kind of stuff. You have to put them back. Government
So why-
not going to find the resources.
So
to
why
always-
put it part of the registration process?
Secondly, even in the science lab, we had a lot of challenge with equipment there too. So we felt, boy, why not have
put it in the
parents make a
registration
contribution
before.
towards that?
So yeah.
And the
Yeah.
contribution is
Things
part
like
of
the
your
t-shirt.
registration
Of
package
course, of
and
course.
not a voluntary fee.
So, Mr. King,
Huh?
you're saying it's time for the parent to step up. Nothing is cheap.
All
Time
right.
for the
And not
parent
only
to
that,
step
not
up.
only that too. We have PTAs.
And there's a PTA fee of $50 there too. People seem to think it's for snacks though.
Hold on.
I think I know better. Snacks for the meetings.
For the meetings.
I know better.
Hold on, let me explain something. I was at the St. Vincent Grammar School for upteen of years, and there was no snacks at meetings. Of course, from
I'm just
time
telling
to
you what
time.
people are saying, yeah?
I know.
All right.
From time to time, at the end of term,
Yeah.
you would have a social, and these teachers would contribute to that social.
Yeah.
So the whatever is used by the school is for the benefit of the school,
Yeah.
most of the students. And I think people have to understand that if you are going to provide varying experiences that are rewarding to your children at these institutions, parents have to help.
They have to
We
help
have to help.
voluntarily, correct?
Yeah, I say
voluntarily.
so,
So if you want
Alright.
a child to access certain things voluntarily.
But those fees,
All right.
as I'm said, would be discussed. Yes.
That's a good one.
Okay. All right. So I'm very sorry. If you noticed, guys, this morning we were not able to take any calls and we weren't actually reading
I'm
out
sorry.
any comments because we did not have
Can I
a lot of
squeeze a
time
question?
with you.
Before- what,
We
10
actually
seconds?
no. I'm so sorry. I
wanted to ask a question.
But no. We cannot because we have to go. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Minister, for taking the time out this morning to join us. We will read out the comments after.
after, right.
All right, and probably have our own discussion.
PTI won't be able to hear
All right.
them, so I
Yeah.
could respond. But
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
knows?
but maybe-
Next
maybe
time
some
what-
other time.
I know.
Maybe some other time,
And
all
perhaps
right?
you could send me the questions.
Listen, the live is there.
Yeah.
All right, so you can go back over the live in your own
Yeah.
time. But we'll link you. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Have a wonderful day. I know you have somewhere to go in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the live as well, and we will get to your comments when we come back. It's now time for the